The Pittsburgh Steelers have made multiple moves on their roster, and this affects one of the potential future stars of this football team. My name is Tamir Jean-Charles. Once again, this is Steelers Digest. Let's hop right into it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please get subscribed. The season is almost upon us. It's almost go time for Steelers football. How you doing, Steelers fans, Yinzer Nation? I talked about this either a vid ago or 2 videos ago, and it is now official. The Steelers have done something that they haven't done in a very, very, very long time, and that is carry 4 quarterbacks on the roster. They officially have placed Will Heyward on IR, so he will miss at least 4 weeks coming back from that pinky dislocation. And before I get into the quarterbacks, Dante Kent, our rookie, is placed on IR as well. He probably made the team over Beanie Bishop and James Pierre, 2 corners that are on the practice squad, and then obviously Corey Trice is on IR as well, with Chuck Clark, surprising cut. Thought he was good depth, but he's on the practice squad as well as Max Sharping. But that's enough of practice squad and going through waivers. This is what the depth chart for the Pittsburgh Steelers looks like at quarterback now officially. I know we did talk about the Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson situation. Is he going? Does Rudolph go? And if Rudolph stays, does Thompson take his job with how he performed in preseason? And it looks like Mason Rudolph has secured that number 2 spot. Rodgers obviously is going to be the number 1. Mason Rudolph is QB2, Skylar Thompson is QB3, and Will Heyward is QB4. And might I add, this pinky injury really set Will Howard's development back just a little bit because he was performing amazing in camp, and he had the QB3 job over Rudolph, and he was going to be getting Skylar Thompson's snaps that he got in preseason before the pinky dislocation happened. And unfortunately, the injury did happen. So Thompson climbed over him in the rankings. As we know, NFL is very, very, very competitive. So Will Heyward will be taking a back seat this year. And like I said last video, or like I said 2 videos ago, this essentially will be a redshirt, year for Will Heyward, just getting reps. He's probably not going to be getting reps in terms of throwing to people in practice, because once you get, if you're really not getting those reps a lot in preseason, which he was, you're definitely not going to be getting those in the regular season when games do matter, and guys like Aaron Rodgers needs all the reps that they need with the ones. And then obviously there are 2 quarterbacks ahead of him already taking some more reps. So he's probably just going to be in the background, just a guy throwing to, personal wide receivers, or, just working on his mechanics, stuff like that. But this begs the question for, is he the guy for the future? And it's not a doubtful question or doubting his talent or anything. At the end of the day, he is a 6th-round quarterback. He did get the buzz because of the national championship win with Ohio State. And now we need to see if he could really do it with a regular roster. As a Steelers fan, you don't want to call your roster regular, but there is no Jeremiah Smith here. There is no Emeka Egbuka. There is no Carnell Tate. There is no Brandon Ennis. There is no Quinshon Judkins. There is no Travion Henderson. So he's in a situation where he will have to win some football games. Obviously, if everything pans out, and let's say Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson, let's say their development pans out, and obviously we still have DK Metcalf and those 3 tight ends. He's gonna have some help, especially with Caleb Johnson. But the thing about the Pittsburgh Steelers is, it's always been like this, is if these guys do pan out. So I think we've been spoiled over the last years with randoms, like, not calling them randoms, but I'm just saying, like Marcus Wheaton and Martavis Bryant, guys who just randomly popped out of nowhere and just became stars, and we're just used to the killer bees. And we've kind of had down years on offense now, since those guys have left. So we're kind of spoiled for talent on defense, but it's not the same for offense. So he needs guys around him to be able to propel him to what we saw at Ohio State. And obviously there were some, negatives to some of his performances, overthrowing or underthrowing receivers that were wide open, stuff like that. But pocket presence and arm strength, I would say. I'm not saying arm talent. Those are two completely different things. But pocket presence and arm strength are one of his pluses. But we're just going to see what's going to happen with him. This is very, very early. I'm just bringing this to you guys as something to just monitor as the season goes on, just to see how his development is doing. But to continue this even further, these are the quarterbacks that are going to be available in 2026. Now, I don't know about you, but number one, Arch Manning, we don't even know if he's going to declare. Finally got that starting job as a Texas Longhorn, so he will be their quarterback going into their first game at Ohio State. Garrett Nussmeier, who I wouldn't say I'm pretty fond of, but he's a good player. I'm skipping over number 3 because I feel like he's the best, and I really want to talk about him. Lenora Sellers got all the physical traits you can ask for. I mean, 6'3", his lower center of gravity. He reminds me of a Jalen Hurts in terms of just his physical traits of who he is as a quarterback. The processing and the mentals have to catch up with the physicality, but everything is there from a metric standpoint. Drew Aller, who was going to declare for 2025 and then had I wouldn't say disastrous, but really didn't have the best game in the Big Ten championship game against Oregon. Not saying that was a pillar or an effect, but that made him kind of, go back on his decision and kind of think things over, and he decided to stay. So he's going to still be Penn State's quarterback for this upcoming year, and he'll most likely declare, he has to declare in 2026. But Cade Klubnik is a guy who, if his development keeps going, and it doesn't stun, and obviously growth isn't linear, but in this case, it kind of has to be. This is a guy who I'd want the Pittsburgh Steelers to get. What I'm trying to say is, and I'm not going to go too deep on Cade Klubnik. This is not a Clemson channel, but I do want Pittsburgh Steelers fans to kind of watch him. I will give you a recommendation. This is my recommendation. If I were to recommend somebody for you to watch, to be like, okay, if I'm not feeling Will Howard and I'm a Yinzer, who can I get hyped for? And he's one of my guys I will recommend you. But I will say that the 2025 class was deprived of talent, and I think the 2026 class might even be worse than that. I think the ideal class is 2024, right? You've got Caleb Williams, Jayden Daniels. I think you have Michael Penix in that class, as well as Bo Nix, as well as Drake May. Like, that class was crazy in terms of QB talent. And that's kind of the hype you want to have around one of your guys. You want to have that type of hype around them. I'm going to keep that very, very short. Keep that very, very short. I just want to show you the guys. Just want to give you a quick synopsis. One of the guys on this list should have been already in the NFL. Another guy, we don't even know if he's going to get drafted. Another guy's a very, very raw prospect. Got the physical traits, but doesn't really have the processing. And number 3, Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. That's a guy who I want everyone to be watching this upcoming college football year. But that's all I have today. There's our man right there, Will Howard on the screen. He'll be taking a back seat this year, like I mentioned. So let's just see what happens with him, and let's just see how he develops. All right, Yenzers, I'll see you in the next one.